All right, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most foundational and surprisingly often misunderstood texts in Western civilization. The Gospel according to Matthew. We're not just summarizing it. Our mission is to kind of peel back the layers and uncover Matthew's specific agenda, how he uniquely portrays Jesus as the long-awaited Messiah.
Right.
Yet, one who constantly defies expectations, redefines righteousness, and calls for a radically inclusive kingdom. You might think you know the story, but Matthew often frames it in ways that are truly eye-opening.
Exactly. Matthew's approach is incredibly intentional. He's writing to a primarily Jewish Christian audience, meticulously demonstrating how Jesus fulfills ancient prophecies.
Right.
But crucially, he presents the Messiah whose understanding of authority and righteousness is profoundly different from what many expected. It's a journey from Jesus' arrival to his final sweeping commission, all designed to show that the kingdom of heaven isn't just about what you believe, but how you live and, who it embraces.
So let's jump right into how Matthew starts, because it immediately sets a unique tone. The book opens with a genealogy, tracing Jesus' lineage all the way back to Abraham through King David.
Establishing the credentials.
Firmly establishing his royal and ancestral credentials. But here's where it gets really interesting. Matthew includes some unexpected women in this otherwise male-dominated family tree.
Yeah, that always stands out.
We find Tamar, Rahab Ruth, and the wife of Uriah Bathsheba. These weren't the conventional, pure matriarchs one might expect in such a significant lineage. Why do you think Matthew chose to highlight these particular women?
Well, it's an incredibly powerful and, frankly, subversive detail right from page 1.
Yeah.
These women all have complicated or, let's say, unconventional stories. Tamar's deception, Rahab's past, Ruth being a foreigner, a Moabitess.
Right, and Bathsheba's whole situation with David.
Exactly. Their inclusion challenges the very idea of a pure or predictable lineage for the Messiah. It immediately signals that God's plan and Jesus' kingdom isn't confined by human expectations of moral perfection or ethnic purity.
Oh.
It's a statement about grace, inclusion, and a God who works through unexpected people in unexpected ways. It kind of lays the groundwork for a truly universal message.
That's a profound statement, establishing a theme of radical inclusivity from the outset. And this defiance of expectation continues with the birth narrative. Joseph faces this agonizing dilemma when Mary is found to be pregnant before their marriage. Matthew calls him a just man, and out of mercy, he resolves to divorce her quietly, to spare her public shame. But then, an angel appears to him in a dream.
Right, the dream motif again.
Explaining the child is from the Holy Spirit. Joseph is told to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins, fulfilling the prophecy of Emmanuel, meaning God with us.
Joseph's portrayal is key here. His initial response shows a man trying to do right by the law, yet, with compassion. But his obedience to the angelic dream, which in this narrative serves as direct divine communication, highlights a crucial point. God's plan unfolds through obedience, even when it challenges human logic or societal norms. This theme of divine intervention through dreams is significant because it's how God guides not just Joseph, but also the wise men later on.
Now, speaking of the wise men from the east, they follow a star, arrive in Jerusalem, and openly ask where the King of the Jews has been born, declaring their intention to worship him. This stands in stark contrast to King Herod, the actual ruler, who is troubled and secretly plots to destroy him.
Yeah, the contrast is stark.
It's an incredible scene. Pagan outsiders seeking out the newborn Messiah, while the ruling king within Israel tries to kill him.
Yeah.
What does this contrast tell us about Matthew's message regarding who truly recognizes Jesus?
Well, it raises a vital question for the listener, doesn't it? Who truly sees and accepts the Messiah?
Right.
Matthew shows us that it's often not those in positions of power or those bound by rigid religious expectations. Instead, it's those with open hearts, even foreigners, who are willing to seek and worship.
While the establishment is threatened.
Exactly. While the established powers are threatened and respond with fear and violence, it's a powerful foreshadowing of Jesus' later rejection by some within Israel and acceptance by many outside it, reinforcing that God's kingdom has a broader reach than people imagined.
Okay, fast forwarding a bit, after these foundational moments, Jesus begins his public ministry. He doesn't start with grand pronouncements, but with a simple yet urgent call by the Sea of Galilee. He tells Simon, Andrew, James, and John, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." What's striking here is their immediate, radical response. They leave their nets, their boats, even their father, to follow him. What does Matthew want us to understand about this immediate and total commitment.
Matthew presents this as a direct and authoritative call that demands total reorientation. It's not an invitation to, like, a casual interest group.
Right, not a book club.
No, it's a summons to a new way of life and a new allegiance. For Matthew, following Jesus isn't an add-on to your existing life. It's a complete transformation of identity and purpose.
Mm.
It underscores Jesus' authority not just in his words, but in his very presence, compelling people to drop everything and join his mission for the kingdom of heaven, which is such a central concept for Matthew.
And this radical reorientation culminates in what's truly a cornerstone of Jesus' teachings, the Sermon on the Mount, chapters 5 through 7.
Yeah, absolutely fundamental.
This isn't just a collection of nice sayings. It feels like the constitution of this new kingdom. It famously begins with the Beatitudes, outlining who is blessed. And it's not the rich, powerful, or popular.
No, quite the opposite.
Jesus blesses the poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, the merciful, the peacemakers, and those who are persecuted. This seems like a complete inversion of how the world, both then and now, defines success or favor.
It is, absolutely. Matthew's Beatitudes aren't just a list of virtues. They're a radical manifesto that turns conventional wisdom on its head.
Right. Imagine an ancient society, or even our own, built on the premise that blessed are the poor in spirit, or the meek. Matthew isn't just offering spiritual advice. He's outlining a complete reordering of societal values, challenging the very foundations of power and status.
Wow.
It's a call to find blessedness in humility, sorrow, and active compassion rather than, outward achievement.
And Jesus then tells his followers they are the salt of the earth and the light of the world, implying a profound responsibility to influence and illuminate society with these inverted values.
A real call to action.
He also makes a very important clarification. He did not come to abolish the law or the prophets, but to fulfill them. And then he drops this bombshell. Our righteousness must exceed that of the scribes and Pharisees if we are to enter the kingdom of heaven.
That's a huge statement.
The Pharisees were known for their meticulous adherence to the law. What does Matthew mean by this exceeding righteousness?
That statement is critical. Matthew's audience would have revered the scribes and Pharisees for their strict observance.
When Jesus says exceed, he's not calling for more external rule-keeping, but a deeper internal transformation. He challenges them to move beyond mere outward adherence to the letter of the law, towards a righteousness of the heart.
Okay. Internal versus external.
Precisely. He unpacks this by saying things like, "You have heard it said, 'You shall not murder,' but I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment."
So anger itself is condemned.
Right. He equates lustful thoughts with adultery. This isn't just about actions. It's about the underlying attitudes, motivations, and the state of one's inner being. It's an internal revolution, really.
That's a profound shift, moving the focus from public performance to private disposition. And this radical ethic extends to how we treat others, especially in the parable of the unforgiving servant.
Oh, yeah, that one's powerful.
Jesus teaches boundless forgiveness 77 times, and then tells of a servant whose massive debt is forgiven by his master, only for that servant to refuse to forgive a small debt owed to him. The master then reinstates the first servant's debt. What is Matthew communicating here about the nature of forgiveness in the kingdom?
Matthew is delivering a stark warning about hypocrisy and the true cost of unforgiveness. If you've experienced profound grace and forgiveness, then you are compelled to extend that same grace to others.
It's not optional.
It's not an option. It's a fundamental operating principle of the kingdom of heaven. The parable essentially says that our own experience of God's forgiveness is intrinsically tied to our willingness to forgive others.
Wow.
This isn't just a nice sentiment. It's a radical, often challenging demand for relational humility and compassion.
And this emphasis on internal righteousness and active compassion culminates powerfully in the sheep and the goats judgment scene in chapter 25.
Yes, the separation.
The Son of Man separates nations based on how they treated the least of these, my brothers, feeding the hungry, welcoming strangers, clothing the naked, and visiting the sick and imprisoned. This isn't about grand religious gestures. What's the core takeaway here for Matthew's listener?
This passage is a profound summary of Matthew's ethical vision. It states unequivocally that genuine faith isn't just intellectual assent or religious ritual.
Right.
It's tangible, practical love for others, especially those on the margins. Jesus identifies himself with the least of these.
So serving them is serving him.
Exactly. So how you treat the vulnerable, the outcast, and the forgotten is, in essence, how you treat God himself. It's a powerful call to active, compassionate living that leaves no room for passive belief. It forces us to ask, where do we see Jesus in the world today? Hashtag the King's Cost and Universal Call.
This theme of a radical, unexpected Messiah who redefines everything truly comes to a head in the journey towards Jerusalem. Take Peter's pivotal confession in chapter 16. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God.
A huge moment.
Jesus then declares Peter, rock, as the foundation for his church, giving him the keys of the kingdom of heaven as one of the highest points of recognition. But immediately after, here's where it gets truly unexpected.
The turn.
Jesus foretells his suffering, death, and resurrection. And when Peter tries to rebuke him for it, Jesus turns and calls Peter Satan for opposing God's plan. That's a jarring shift. What's Matthew highlighting with this sharp contrast?
This is a moment of profound irony and redirection. Peter has just grasped Jesus' true identity, but he, like many, still carries a vision of a conquering political Messiah.
Yeah, the expected kind of Messiah.
Right. Jesus immediately shatters that expectation by talking about suffering and death. When Peter tries to pull Jesus away from that path, Jesus' rebuke is incredibly sharp because Peter is inadvertently suggesting an easier path that would subvert God's redemptive plan.
Wow, calling him Satan.
It's intense. Matthew wants us to see that the Messiah's true kingship is not about worldly power or avoiding suffering, but about self-sacrifice. It's the ultimate redefinition of authority and leadership.
That reframes everything about what it means to be king. And this leads to Jesus' ultimate anguish in the Garden of Gethsemane, just before his crucifixion.
Right, Gethsemane.
He prays 3 times, My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. He finds the disciples sleeping during this darkest hour.
Yeah, they couldn't stay awake.
What does this reveal about Jesus and about the nature of submission in Matthew's narrative?
Gethsemane is such a powerful window into Jesus' humanity and his profound commitment to his mission. We see his immense personal struggle, the desire for an alternative path, perhaps.
This cup passing.
Exactly. But ultimately, his complete and utter submission to the Father's will. It shows us that even for the Son of God, there was a wrestling, a cost, but that true divine power is found not in avoiding suffering, but in embracing the path God has set, even when it leads to the cross. It's the ultimate example of doing God's will above one's own.
And that path, of course, culminates in the crucifixion. The narrative in Matthew is stark, detailing the mockery by soldiers, the darkness over the land, Jesus' cry, my God, why have you forsaken me?" and his death.
It's brutal.
But then come the miraculous signs. The temple curtain torn in two, an earthquake, rocks splitting, tombs opening, and even the Roman centurion and guards declare, truly this was the Son of God.
Yeah, that moment is key.
It feels like Matthew is emphasizing that even in apparent defeat, Jesus' divine identity is undeniable.
Absolutely. For Matthew, the crucifixion isn't just a tragic end. It's the climax of God's redemptive plan. The cosmic signs, the darkness, the earthquake, the torn temple veil are God's own commentary, revealing that this agonizing event is of universal significance.
And it's not just a local execution.
No way.
Yeah.
And the centurion's confession, coming from a Gentile, underscores that even in the moment of greatest humiliation, the true identity of Jesus as the Son of God is revealed, reaching beyond Jewish expectations and foreshadowing the global scope of his future mission.
And indeed, that global mission is precisely where Matthew ends. After his resurrection, Jesus appears to his 11 disciples in Galilee and gives them what we call the Great Commission.
The marching orders.
Right? All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. This is a definitive ending, isn't it?
It's the ultimate culmination of Matthew's entire narrative. The authority Jesus demonstrated throughout his life over sin, sickness, nature, and even death is now declared as all authority in heaven and on earth.
Total.
Total. This universal authority then mandates a universal mission. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. It shifts the focus from an exclusively Israelite Messiah to a global one.
Yeah, expands it massively.
And the promise, I am with you always, to the end of the age, offers enduring presence and empowerment for this monumental task. It ties back beautifully to Emmanuel, God with us, showing that his presence is not just a historical event, but a continuing reality for his followers.
So what does this all mean for us today? This deep dive into Matthew truly highlights a Messiah who constantly challenges our preconceptions.
Definitely.
From the unexpected inclusivity of his genealogy to the radical ethics of the Sermon on the Mount and the redefinition of kingship through suffering and service, Matthew presents a vision that's both challenging and, well, profoundly hopeful. It's a story packed with surprising insights into what it means to truly live in the kingdom of heaven.
And what stands out here is how Matthew consistently calls for active, embodied faith. It's not enough to simply intellectually acknowledge Jesus as Messiah.
Not just head knowledge.
No. Matthew demands a reorientation of our values, our actions, our priorities. He paints a picture of a kingdom whose values often run counter to the world's, but ultimately brings the deepest blessedness. It's a compelling call to reevaluate what it means to be righteous in a world that often measures success so differently.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this deep dive, consider this provocative thought.
Yeah.
Matthew's narrative consistently implies that the true measure of faith isn't just in what you believe or say, but in what you do, how you embody his radical teachings.
Right.
And most crucially, how you treat others, especially the least of these.
Oh, powerful takeaway.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the gospel according to Matthew. We hope you feel more informed and perhaps a little more curious to continue your own deep dives into texts that shape our world. We'll catch you next time.